Scott Spreitzer and the Sports Cheetah were breaking down Super Bowl 50 this weekend here at wagertalk.com. And I saw his work plenty of times before I got to know him. Got to meet him a couple of months ago when I joined up with wagertalk.com, and really respect the work that you do with those weekly football sheets, all you do at wagertalk.com. We do a show in common, not at the same time, on Mad Dog Radio on the Sirius Network, and I know the host over there, Patrick Maher. I've been doing that show on Thursdays for a couple of years now. Has nothing but great things to say about you, even before I met you. So now that we've swelled up your head and made it, too big to get through the door, I wanted to ask you real quickly, because people always ask me, what is Preston's background? Tell us a little bit about where you come from, how you got into sports betting.
Yeah, if you look on Twitter, my Twitter handle at Sports Cheetah, you'll see I read that I have a master's degree in sports psychology, and that's true. A lot of people don't think I actually do. But I'm actually kind of educated, and I had always planned on doing my PhD actually, and got into this and was successul, and so I didn't have to do more school, so I stopped.
Psychology. I was going to ask you real quickly. So is this like the tribute or the ode to Sigmund Freud, or
the Freud,
what's going on there?
Yeah, I think we're going to do a handle like at Freud. Sports Freud or something like that. We'll get it up and going eventually. But yeah, it's been nice because it helped a lot. I played poker back in the day quite a bit too, and more so than trying to like implement or figure out how sports psychology can actually affect a game or whatnot. It's more so, I think, for the money management and bankroll management and that side of things that people struggle with pretty often, that I've kind of been able to hopefully at this point master and use to my advantage as I'm capping games and grinding a whole season or whatever. So.
Do you see an advantage with either quarterback from a psychological perspective? 2 weeks off leading to the Super Bowl. I didn't know I was going to go there with this, but I thought let's bring it up, because you got Peyton Manning, who's been there before. He's not always had great results in the postseason, as we know. And then you got the up-and-comer Cam Newton, who's revolutionizing the position, who's in his first Super Bowl, but he's been in championship games before throughout his collegiate career.
Yeah, I think that's why it's an interesting combination. I think if you had maybe Tom Brady instead of Peyton Manning, I'd give the edge for Tom Brady because he's been there before. But then you look at Peyton Manning, it's like, well, he's struggled in these spots, half the time. And half the time he's showed up and been pretty good. So then you look at the other side in Cam Newton, you're like, oh, it's his first time there. But you brought up a good point, for Auburn or whatever. Then they played in the national championship game. I think it was against Oregon. They crushed him. It wasn't even that close of a game. And he's handled that situation really nicely before. I think personally I would still give the edge to Peyton Manning slightly, but it's really close. It's tough to really tell at this point.
Because of the little bit, Cam even won at the JUCO level. He was a JUCO national champion, so I think the only level he hasn't won at it was at the high school level. Let's get your thoughts on the game as we speak. We see 5s and 5.5s. We see the total anywhere from 44 up to 45.
Yeah, I think the sides, I know we've heard it before from tons of other people. You've heard it all week and a half. A lot of early people liked Carolina. They bet up the 3.5s. And a lot of people like +6 on Denver. And there's probably sharp guys on both sides. For me personally, I'm staying away. I could easily see Carolina winning the game by 7+. Could see Denver winning the game outright too. I just think there's not a ton of value in either number ultimately. I played one total in the game a couple of days ago. I gave out to my clients. It was the first half under 23, which isn't available anymore. I think yesterday and today the total started coming down, and so you'll see 21.5, 22 now. But keep an eye on that. If it comes back up a little bit, maybe game day, there's a ton of over money coming in and flooding, and you get that first half to 23. I think that's a good buying point for that play.
We were doing a podcast the other night with John Detroit, Marco D'Angelo, Matt Holt of CG Technologies. You brought up another prop, and you were actually playing it on your phone, getting there before the line had a chance to move. What was that prop?
Yeah, it was, I'll look it up here on the sheet we have. It's Steph Curry. It's a crossover prop for the Thunder Warriors game on Saturday. And it was Steph Curry, points, rebounds, assists, +2.5 versus the total points in the Super Bowl. You guys, it was funny, I was trying to bet it and I got countered, and there was like this funny story because Matt was talking about how much they accept for props, and he said to try again later in the week, so I'm not going to put him down yet. We'll see if I can get more down on this, but I really like it because Saturdays, I think it might be the first NBA game this year that you're going to see a total in the 230s. There's going to be a lot of pace. The Thunder can hang with the Warriors. A lot of Steph Curry's numbers and averages on the year are actually deflated because he's missed 15 fourth quarters. He doesn't have to play in many of those games at the end of the game. And this one he may. He had to in in Washington last night, and he ended up dropping 51 and 7 assists or whatever it was. I don't think he's going to score 51, but I think it's going to be value because I already do like the under in the Super Bowl.
Sure.
And so getting 2.5 points on the Curry prop, it's a fun one to kind of cross over it, and so you have something to sweat Saturday plus Sunday.
Will you do any in-game in the Super Bowl?
Me, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's where, when a side comes into play, I'm just going to wait and play in game.
I was bringing up a point on the podcast and also with one of the guys here on the videos that if Denver's up 7-0 at the start of the second quarter, let's say, and I was asking Mark Duffy off the top of his head, what do you think the in-game line would be? And he was saying, basically pick them. Would you look to jump in on Carolina on a scenario like that? Denver up early second quarter.
It's tough to really say beforehand.
Got to watch and see how it's happening.
If it's
right?
7-0 and like the Panthers have moved the ball 2 times but have 2 turnovers or a missed field goal or something, it's probably a good spot. They're going to figure it out. If Cam looks completely flustered and the Denver Broncos defense is just he can't get receivers open, they can't create room, it's not a spot that I would probably jump in. I would just let it go until things change. So when you're doing in-game, I think it's a good point to bring up. You can't really just go in pre-game.
Gotta
with,
watch.
oh, there's this number.
Yep.
When I'm betting in-game, I'm following the games, usually watching them in person, trying to get a read and a feel for what's actually happening in the game. There's injuries, especially in basketball, to switch gears a little bit. There's injuries all the time or foul trouble or this and that, and so you have to be following that along if you see a number, especially for totals too, spreads. If team's up 20 or it's close, you have to be.
On a couple of shows, do I do in-game? And I said when I do, I have to be focused on 1 or 2 games tops.
Yeah.
When I'm doing in-game, you got to know how teams got to where they got before you can start jumping
can't just
in.
blindly
Not just the percentages after the game gets underway. Real quickly, before we wrap it up, final score prediction.
Ooh.
Putting you on the spot.
I actually haven't configured one yet. I'll go Panthers 17, Broncos 16.
Good stuff. He's Sports Cheetah. Check him out at wagertalk.com. All the packages all weekend long, both basketball and with props and football. Good stuff. We appreciate you having you, Preston. Looking forward to working with you for a long time at wagertalk.com.
Definitely.
He's Preston. I'm Scott. Stick around. More videos to come for Super Bowl weekend.